let's say you were getting ready for the festivities tomorrow for Mother's Day or whatever, and you're just tuning in right now. You're asking, what did I miss? Well, we got our first tournament of the year on LAN. On top of that, it's the first tournament where we've actually seen these guys go toe-to-toe with add-ons at LAN. And then also, it's going to be a very interesting meta because the tournament realm not going to have some of the things we see on live with some of that PvE gear that has been very strong on the ladder. And then ultimately, that has resulted in a 3-0, a 3-0, and a 3-0. We got one more team left, and then we're into elimination matches, and we're actually going to find out who's going to be sent packing first. They actually have to go home here. They're not already home playing. So pretty devastating to not make it to Sunday. We're going to find out who those teams are who are going to get their hearts broken first. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host throughout the entire week, and I got Zico, Super Tees, and Healing Stat with me. Let's talk about this fourth matchup, the boys versus Change My Mind. Change My Mind already suffering a little bit of heartbreak, Zico.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Change My Mind. You might see that there's a whole bunch of mages in their compositions. It's kind of a team that's been playing Rogue Mage Druid as their bread and butter, and they were really the team that was playing this composition the best, according to us on the desk at least, over in Europe. And of course, they played a lot of Shadow Priest, Mage, Druid, and now their mage is not going to be able to attend to this LAN, so they're going to have to go with some interesting alt compositions. They're going to have to adapt on the fly here. And of course, the boys, one of the titans from North America. It's really been about the boys and of course, formerly Super Frogs, currently Cloud9 over in North America. And the boys, they have had such a strong showing as well, playing a lot of melee compositions.
And also, I do want to note, when you were looking at the compositions from Change My Mind, the other one that was on the list was obviously the RPD. What we do expect to most likely see here employed, and the RPD had one of their highest win rates, right, with 75%. The reason that you see that is because it was a pretty niche composition throughout the entirety of the year. So when they were locking it in, it was essentially a counter pick. So you expect to see those higher win rates. I think one of the other things that you do note about that composition, if it was really strong, if it was a meta composition, there's a team called Les Move, and you do expect them to potentially make it to this tournament if it was strong. So Adrian, what does it feel like? I know you've been playing a lot of Shadow Priest as well. What does it feel like having that not as a counter pick, but as your main composition potentially?
Yeah, I do want to really emphasize your point there, Rich. Like, the Shadow Priest Rogue, like, they had a great win-loss on it, but the first two comps you saw represented over 91% of their games during the spring season. So really, like, this comp was an incredibly niche. You know, they played it, like, I think about 7 matches or something in total. So granted, it's a good win rate, but at the same time, you know, it's not something you want to have to rely on here. And the Move have been relying on it. It didn't work out too well for them. Change My Mind, I mean, they've got to change our mind.
Well, that's the thing as well. What would you rather have? You know, mage-based compositions when you face the melee cleave kings in the boys, or a Shadow Priest who kind of doesn't move that well compared to a mage?
Well, if you were going to be in the scenario where you had the Shadow Priest, even if it isn't the one that the class or the specialization that you necessarily want, this is probably the Shadow Priest that I would pick. Valet would definitely be one of them. You know, there are really only 2 Shadow Priests that come into my mind that I instantly do want to grab up, and he is definitely on that list. Will they be able to do it here on the blind pick against the boys?
The boys, the melee cleave specialists, they love to smash people. Let's see what they can do here in game number 1, bringing in a Fury Warrior for what I think maybe the first time we've seen its specialization here in 2019. Curious to see how it plays it out. I know that you've had a lot of experience with it yourself, Adrian.
Yeah, they're taking a bit of a page out of me, Nali, and Joe Fernandez's book here. We're currently ranked 30, I believe, in NA with this composition, so it's a very solid one. And the main strengths of this comp is the Windwalker has a lot of off healing. The Fury Warrior also has a lot of off healing. So against the Shadow Priest rock pressure, both these melees are going to do a great job of firstly shutting down the Shadow Priest, but also, you know, just avoid healing through any kind of like lingering damage that comes out of the Shadow Priest. That said, I actually don't mind this matchup for Change My Mind. I feel like Villa is going to have a really easy time surviving against this, so it's going to come down to mana. Potentially they can kind of Minpoike in the late game, but Villa is playing, I know, this very tanky build. He's going full versatility. He's actually prioritizing the Azurite traits, Twist of Magic, which basically whenever he purges, he heals his entire team. So he is a tank on that Shadow Priest. I don't know if the boys have accounted for that.
Yeah, Change My Mind, focus on crowd control. So Valet running the Mind Bomb, as it's very difficult to move as a Shadow Priest with multiple melee running at you. That Mind Bomb is ranged crowd control that he can access and remove Gorecki as we see it activated, but Valet is still low on health and can't dish out any damage during that crowd control. a moment. Acro gets switched to as well. Grecki gets sapped at the end of this, though. Trying to stall it out. They pull Touch of Karma from Chun-Li. Cooldowns exchanged on both sides. I would say potential lead here for Change My Mind, despite not having Fried Kitty here to compete in the tournament. They're looking solid in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was the Touch of Death. It was the Way of the Crane, and they didn't even need to trade out the Dispersion there on Vilai, so definitely a reasonable trade. Now we see the swaps coming over onto Chun-Li. Beautiful Cyclone from Minpoike, and this is another thing I want to highlight for Change My Mind. Like, Minpoike, Zico and I didn't rank him as, like, you know, the #1 or #2 healers in the world, but when it comes to uniquely the Restoration Druid, he has seen a lot of success over the years. He's one of the kind of more old school healers from Europe, still showing his stuff here in this competition. The big swap, though, over onto Acrolos, forces out the evasion. This could be a good swap from the boys. I feel like Vilai is really difficult to kill. Tunneling Acrolos could be the weakness.
Now they've got 2 targets low on health, and Minpoike has no Iron Bark. How will they recover from this? Acro retreats away with Sprint. Vilai getting crushed. Minpoike connecting some big Nourish heals, managing to stabilize and get the team back to full and regenerate some mana amidst that. Good recovery by Change My Mind. The boys still trying to chop up Acro. Minpoike is locked down in crowd control. No follow-up. Acro avoids the fight for now. Curious to see when Change My Mind are going to strike again. They need to be careful pushing forward. Touch of Death available for Chun-Li. Grecki anticipating an attack and activating Life Cocoon before any crowd control is engaged, denying huge damage. But now that that Life Cocoon is faded, an opening opens up for Change My Mind.
Yeah, I actually want to commend Minpoike as well on his mana management this game. I think as the Restoration Druid, it's easy to keep your team alive at the expense of your mana pool, but he actually has a pretty even one with Grecki right now, which is no easy feat for the Restoration Druid, so well played by him so far in this game. Acrylos trying to get aggressive, like you said, the Vendetta traded out a little bit there. We see the Void Eruption, Insanity unleashed from Vilai, trying to get some pressure over onto Grecki's mana bar, and that's ultimately what they're achieving here. Chun-Li dropping lower and lower, does have that Touch of Karma though. We see the bash coming in. They're trying to get some crowd control going here, but a nice Touch of Karma from Chun-Li should deny a lot of this incoming damage from Change My Mind.
Minpoike playing it smartly and held out on going for a Cyclone and Grecki. That would put him on diminishing return for Mind Bomb, and as Chun-Li already had defensive cooldowns active, it was unlikely that he was going to die at that moment in time, saving that diminishing return for a later time and try to find a kill opportunity. But it's Vilai who's in trouble. 1 second away from that dispersion. Iron Bark of Minpoike will save the day, but it's Way of the Crane from Chun-Li, so he's adding some extra damage to the team. Acro, realizing that, is able to sort of duck away with Feint and avoid the pressure for now. Minpoike gets interrupted, they drop the Smoke Bomb, but Grecki predicted it, once again activating that Life Cocoon right before a big push from Change My Mind, denying the kill. But look at the mana. Grecki's almost tapped. Minpoike, I do believe, is sitting down in stealth, regenerated a significant amount. Still has cooldowns to exchange, and even though they're a man down, Change My Mind might be able to do this if they can hold on a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic trade for Change My Mind. They got the drink, they traded Dispersion for Touch of Death and 3 Maledicts from the boys, so fantastic trade for Change My Mind. Looking good, like you said, just 3 members here. We don't have Fried Kitty, who participated in, like I said, 90% of the games for Change My Mind, but it's forced them to really learn and perfect this Shadow Priest Rogue composition, and it's looking good for them so far. Grecki down to about 15% mana left. Chun-Li without Touch of Karma for a few seconds, but they do a big swap over onto Acrolos, forcing out the Trinket Evasion once again. I think they need to do more of these swaps, Sid, if they are to secure the game.
Pre-Life Cocoon on the incoming blind. Grecki predicting every single crowd control attempt of Change My Mind and really not leaving any significant holes in his defense. Although still crowd controlled, Chun-Li has to trade. Touch of Karma now out of the way, and Change My Mind stay in the fight. Dampening is kicked in. Both healers are almost tapped on mana, and this game will be ending shortly as a result, unless one of them can escape and drink, but Smexon wants to crush out Acro. He's got Minpoike locked out in crowd control. Vilai can't support either. Acro gets gripped. Smexon leaps over. Chun-Li in hot pursuit. Grecki interrupts the heal, but Chun-Li can't follow up. He's stunned away by Acro. Change My Mind desperately trying to stabilize, and Minpoike is still crowd controlled. This could be the Void Shift. Vilai fades. He immunes incoming damage during Fade's activation, holding out at low health, but it's costing Minpoike a lot of mana to recover if they don't exchange cooldowns at this time. Grecki, he needs to find some mana for another Way of the Crane. If he can do that, he can easily push Vilai over, but if he's not able to, I think things may spiral out of control for the boys.
Yeah, I mean, Vilai still has the Dispersion. You know, you can trade that happily. He has the Void Shift, that life-swapping ability that's so powerful for the Shadow Priest, and Chun-Li is very much without those major cooldowns. They're bursting through this bubble coming in from Grecki. They're doing a fantastic job forcing the reverse magic here. Chun-Li in so much trouble at this moment in time. The full kidney shot, He does have the trinket. He's not using it. Fortifying Brew comes out late. Gurecki is completely tapped on mana. Desperation swap over onto Mimpoike from Smexen, but I don't think it'll be enough.
Okay.
Vilai still has the life swap. They're so far ahead in this game, they're just going to kill Chun-Li.
4 more seconds, 3 to that touch of karma, but Gurecki's locked out in crowd control. He trinkets the Mind Bomb into a bash. Great follow-up by Mimpoike. Chun-Li, touch of karma barely trades in time. Now Mimpoike crowd control. Both teams in trouble. Maybe a cross kill. Dispersion stabilizes Valet. They're so far behind on cooldowns. They catch a big revival heal. Chun-Li holds out, but they've got no counter pressure. They go for the kill. They've got the intimidating shot of Mimpoike. It's do or die. Can they take Valet out in time? I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Chun-Li portals away, but he's so low on health, and Gurecki's caught in a full blind. Changed my mind. Despite having their mage, or not having their mage here today, are slowly pulling this off. Chun-Li holding out. Acro Shadow steps in, locks him in place for Valet. Huge Void Bolt, big connect. Gurecki cannot stabilize. How did he do it? Chun-Li manages to stay alive, gets cycloned at low health. I was starting to count the boys out, but I guess you can never count the boys out.
You can't count the boys out. You can't count Chun-Li out. There's a reason that a lot of people say this guy is the best Windwalker monk in the world, but we see the smoke bomb coming in. Beautiful preemptive Fist of Fury coming in from Chun-Li. Once again, playing the dangerous game. Full Mind Bomb over onto Gurecki. Chun-Li running for his dear life at this moment in time. Dampening starting to tick away. Change my mind. Are completely tapped on mana, but they have defensive cooldowns available. The life swap, that big defensive. Mimpoike looking for a little drink right now. They need to stop that. They need to get over to him. Looks like he's getting good mana at this moment in time. About 30%. Gurecki does not have that luxury, and that's going to put them further ahead.
Touch of Death available for Chun-Li. Acro does not have a Gladiator's Medallion. Why did Chun-Li not commit the Touch of Death? I guess he wants to wait for the Iron Bark? Do they really have time to wait for it? I think Touch of Death would have just killed Acro right here and now. They might just do it anyway. Both members in crowd control, and he cannot activate it for 1 more second. Barely squeaks that in, but with Touch of Death, Acro died there. Was that a mistiming by Chun-Li?
Potentially, I mean, maybe he wanted to get that Void Shift out. I mean, they almost killed without it because of the paralysis, Vilai without his trinket, and maybe, you're right, Sid, maybe that was the throwaway. Actually, a DR Fear coming out onto Mimpoike, it looked like there as well. The Touch of Death is now committed.
This has to be it.
Has to be the kill, but they're just going to trade the Dispersion once again. Vilai so smart with his cooldowns. Chun-Li now caught up, does have the Touch of Karma available, the big defensive cooldown. This game is really on a knife's edge at this point.
Yes, it is. Dampening's very high. Both teams tapped on mana. Chun-Li, Touch of Karma's at 10%. Mimpoike's in position, jumps on top of Gurecki. He's in a Mind Bomb. Any follow-up. Smexen leaps over, interrupts him. Sap out of Mind Bomb. Sap on the trinket. Style moves here by Acro, and Change My Mind. Great follow-up, but once again, Chun-Li, that Ring of Peace positioning prevented Acro from connecting. He finally is dishing out huge damage. Life Cocoon available in 1 more second for Gurecki as he manages to stay alive.
Yeah, Mimpoike had a second of hesitation there. If he got the low Cyclone, he might have actually Cycloned the Life Cocoon, chose to cancel it. Maybe that was not the play, not the move. Since we're playing some Rogue Priest, we might as well throw that one out there. Evasion was used aggressively there by Acrolos, as was Trinket, and now they're looking to punish. Full stun, Mimpoike's drinking on the other side of the map. He needs to get back. An excellent life grip from Vilai, keeping his Rogue potentially alive here, though still in trouble. That was a lot of defensive cooldowns burnt on the side of Changed My Mind. I'd love to see if Gurecki can get enough mana for 1 more Way of the Crane, 1 more offensive push. It has to be onto Acro, surely.
Dampening gets higher and higher. The mana is just continuing to go down, and cooldowns are burned on both sides. There's basically nothing left for either team as they battle it out. Game number 1, the final upper bracket match. Will Europe win 3 out of 4 in the upper bracket, or will the boys manage to tie it for North America 2-2? We will find out here shortly as we see Change My Mind changing targets.
Both the healers actually managed to get a drink there. I can't believe that. They're choosing to swap target over onto Smexen. As Dampening starts to stack up, I actually don't mind that, but I just feel like Chun-Li is the more exposed target. He has less armor. He's easier for Acro to lay into the fear onto Mimpoike, who also got a good drink in that exchange. He's trinketing out of that one. Vilai drops a little bit low, uses the Greater Fade, still has that Dispersion available to him. The double stun, there should be a swap over onto Acro. They're actually tunneling down Vilai through it. They get the Dispersion. There's no cooldowns available for the Touch of Death now. I think that's still going to tick. Gurecki has full mana. We see the Smoke Bomb coming out. Trinket from Smexen. Doesn't even trade out the heals. He should be fine. Vilai in so much trouble.
The boys are doing it. They're coming back in this fight. Desperation times here for Change My Mind. Even though Mimpoike has mana is more valuable. The Way of the Crane is more than enough. The boys battle it back for game 1.
What a game.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to look at what happened there. You got a team that only has 3 players. They don't have their full arsenal at their disposal. it's not super tricky to go through that mental game, right? Unless they threw an absurdly weird curveball at you, you pretty much knew what they were playing. So what do the boys do? They bring essentially the hard counter, and they almost get kicked right in the boys and lose. Why do we see Change My Mind pop off like that? Yes, ultimately the boys do manage to turn it around, and we have to commend them for that, but we really do need to look at what Change My Mind did, how they got that early pressure.
Well, they found a way to play the matchup, and it's interesting to see because the Shadow Priest, usually the guy who's going to be under pressure, but once you get that Assassination Rogue pressure on the Windwalker, you are removing a lot of the offense from Change My Mind. Counteract Magic is not going to be as effective in dampening, and of course, Villay also using some of those traits, helping him heal himself up, is going to be big for them. And I honestly thought Chun-Li was going to die multiple times. When Gorecki got sapped on his trinket, I thought Chun-Li was dead. When Gorecki trinketed the Mind Bomb, set a full blind into sap, when he was also out of mana, I thought Chun-Li for sure is dead. But Chun-Li is, in my opinion, the best monk in the game, period. So he manages to stay alive just because of that kiting, because of the preemptive Rings of Pieces, just doing an insane job surviving. And they managed to get that drink, and as soon as they allowed that drink to happen, I thought, okay, that's it. The boys, they got this one now.
Well, we got to hear what is actually happening on the floor. If the players are saying anything, we got Aya to report.
Hey guys, we just saw that first victory from the boys. Before this matchup, I was able to sit down with Smexon, and you know, he really did say that even though Fried Kitty is gone from the other team, he wanted a fair matchup. They are such a strong contender when they are a full roster, but however, I don't believe we should dismiss them just yet. We've seen teams with an incomplete roster upset other teams in the past lands. On the side of Change My Mind, I was able to catch up with Valet, and he said he thought it could go either way. He said they're either going to 3-0 us or we're going to 3-0 them. So again, I don't think we should dismiss these guys just yet. So we'll see how the rest of this matchup plays out and if they can turn it around. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was Valet when we were actually getting ready yesterday. He was one of the guys who was basically saying, look, when you're forced in a situation like this, you start to look at a composition and you see so many strengths that you wouldn't typically have to see. You start looking at all the beautiful things about the composition because you essentially have to.
Yeah, I mean, they were left with very limited options, and they really are making the best of a not great situation. Change My Mind. I actually genuinely think that they should have won the game, actually went the way it went. I don't think the hard counter played out the way the boys wanted. I think it was a couple of things. Firstly, we were talking about Looney and Chaz being the best healers. Gorecki must have heard us because he preemptively life cocooned several blind, several silences, basically everything. He was the MVP for the boys in this game. He was the only reason they were able to stay alive so long, getting that clutch drink at the end. But I also think Change My Mind through a little bit. I don't think the Fury Warrior is a good target. Whilst the Windwalker is very slippery and difficult to kill, just by attacking him, you force him to run away. And as soon as they started attacking the Fury Warrior, they just had an insurmountable amount of pressure on the side of the boys, and that's what kind of rolled them over in the end.
And I think the boys do see that as well, Super. They are going to be changing their composition here. How do you feel about this shift?
Even still, I feel like it could go either way. Change My Mind broke out the Shadow Priest Rogue Restoration Druid after getting, what was it, close to 16 0'd by Method Black's Demon Hunter Death Knight in the Spring Cup season. So they brought the Shadow Priest Rogue, and it suddenly worked for them for 2 games. And surprisingly here, they're forced to play it, and it looks strong. I mean, they were so close to killing Chun-Li multiple times, and even with the Death Knight Windwalker, that still could be the case. Chun-Li as a Windwalker is a vulnerable target, and now without the consistent pressure of the Fury Warrior, potentially that opens up Valet to get more pressure out. I'm very curious to see how it plays. On this map, it will be easier to drink, and of course, we do likely expect the Restoration Druid to run out of mana faster, and drinks will be required. But if Gorecki can maintain mana deeper into dampening, then he gets Way of the Crane, which increases all of his damage and effectively adds 3 damage dealers to his team while it's active, but it's an expensive spell. So it's a double-edged sword, this map. Drinking becomes easier for both sides. It's mandatory for Minpoike, but if Gorecki gets it, he can overwhelm Minpoike's team with pressure.
How big of a surprise is it if Change My Mind plays anything but the composition that we just saw, if they play anything besides the RPD?
I actually spoke a little bit with them, and I'm not gonna say exactly what they have in mind, but I think that if they go down 0-2, especially if it's convincing, I think we are gonna see a little bit of
spice.
Yes, thrown into the mix. But honestly, I wouldn't change the composition. I think Change My Mind they are sitting on a gold mine here. They know exactly what they need to do to beat the boys, and they just needed a little bit better execution. There was that one blind attempt. If they just waited for the stun lock to also be available for Chun-Li, they would have closed last game. It just came down to playing it perfectly. If they can do that, then they can win. And I think they have to do that now that they are a 3-man roster. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think they should keep going with their mains here. The moment they go into that deep alt territory, that's when they're really going to start struggling, I think.
Yeah, and I think that may be the last warrior we see in this tournament as well, but we're going to be jumping into the action. We're going to find out what a team that is really making the best out of a somewhat bad situation. You only got 3 players here, and all of a sudden they're making this comp look absolutely insane, when teams that couldn't do it throughout the entire season, that did focus on this composition, they didn't make it here. Change my mind, trying to do just that, but already their backs against the wall.
This is the Arena World Championship 2019 Spring Finals, where we bring the 4 top teams from Europe and the 4 top teams from North America to battle it out for a $50,000 prize and a qualification straight to BlizzCon. This is the final upper bracket round. Europe currently leads 6-3 for the day, but the boys are looking to battle it back for their region and tie it up. Already taking game 1 against Change My Mind, but even without their Mage Fried Kitty, they are still putting up quite a formidable fight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Smexen on the Death Knight differs from Smexen on the Warrior in this matchup. I honestly think it's going to be slightly better for Change My Mind. They have more interrupts. Their anti-magic zone, anti-magic shell and zone are both solid defensives. You can see the pressure already starting to amount over onto Vilai. Trinkets used from him. Ironbark once again from Mimpoike. Good innovate just early. I really like these innovates. He gets a lot of healing out for free, gets that cooldown on rotation, and in a long game like this, it could potentially be good, but I mean, just the raw damage from the Abomination, that wasn't even the Touch of Death, and Vilai already training out Dispersion. I'd love to see them use Touch of Death before that Fade comes up, but it would have to be now.
Smexen is flexing and shredding here in game number 2, switching from Fury Warrior onto the Unholy Death Knight, already burning through significant defensive cooldowns of the team Change My Mind. We see crowd control initiated by Vilai. Way of the Crane gets blinded. This is likely a trinket. Where's the punish on the trinket? No punish. Way of the Crane's going to be doing tons of pressure. Vilai fades to immune incoming damage. Well timed there, preventing Gurecki from getting some extra burst, but ultimately 3 members will connect. That's the Touch of Death. This is going to be a big hit. How is Mimpoike going to respond? We're 8 seconds away from his Iron Bark. Still 5 seconds away. He's stunned up. Can't Void Shift. Still low on health. Void Shift to Mimpoike. Do they switch to Mimpoike is another question. Not going to be able to. He's repositioned. Vilai managing to keep it calm, cool, and collected, but burning your Void Shift, a 5-minute cooldown this early on. You can already tell that the boys are bringing the pressure.
Yeah, I actually really don't like this matchup for Change My Mind. I think they would have to have the Windwalker on their team for the off-healing, because Vilai he's just under so much pressure. Like, the Death Knight just brings more damage, brings the Necrotic Strikes, the Death Grip as well for the Druid to deal with. It's just so much harder, and I mean, it's also just harder for Vilai to cast. So the boys definitely with a good composition change here. They're trying to get a bit of damage over on Smexen. He's a bit more of an exposed target than the Fury Warrior was, but Gurecki trading out another nice life cocoon. We've seen it from him the entire series. Cyclone's coming in from Mimpoike to counter, but it's really Changed My Mind who are up against it.
Gurecki with a slight mana lead. Cooldowns in favor of the boys here in game number 2, but Smexen gets bursted. How are they going to trade? No cooldowns for a Maledict push on the side of Change My Mind. That is devastating. An anti-magic shield to avoid Mimpoike's. Now 2 Gliders Maledicts out of the way. That means the boys can go. Vilai in trouble. Very low on health. Dispersion available. Likely to have to make that exchange. He fades the incoming Gliders Maledict and some pressure at low health. Perfect timing on his part, but that mana is just an ever so burning resource for the side of Change My Mind, and Mimpoike needs to utilize the map, the big open field, to try and find a drink. Will he be able to do so? They need to work with Vilai to be able to dispel off the disease of the Unholy Death Knight so that he does not get put into combat. But Smexen's in trouble. There's no Gliders Medallion for Gurecki. Anti-Magic Zone stabilizes Smexen for now. Mimpoike took advantage of that moment. When his team had pressure, he snuck away and was able to regenerate mana. Perfect awareness on Mimpoike's part, and it's going to keep his team in the fight here for game 2.
Yeah, it's a nice play. It's something we've seen quite a few of the European teams doing. They use the offensive Vendetta, force the boys defensive, and then use that opportunity for the healer to go for a drink. Mimpoike, well played, able to restore his mana to full. He has the Innovate back up, so good rotations here. The life swap, which was used by Vilai, should be coming up in about 3 minutes here. So it's going to be up in time for dampening, so it might not end up being the worst punish in the world. We have the Greater Fade, of course, and the Dispersion, and the Trinket from Mimpoike available, and honestly, I think Change My Mind have started to stabilize a little bit in this matchup. So.
Way of the Crane activated. Big hits coming in. Dispersion and evasion preemptively by Acro, anticipating a swap to himself when Valet goes immune to damage. Nice prediction on his part. He avoids some huge swap potential. Triple Mind Bomb by Valet as they look to counter aggress towards Smexen. Cyclone out of the Mind Bomb. Where's the bash? Mpoike moves in, secures it. Smexen's at half, but with no dampening. Death Strike likely to stabilize Smexen. No Glaire's Maledicts to absorb its healing. One Death Strike. Smexen stabilizes. Greki's out of crowd control, but his mana's not looking too good. However, this map could also benefit him to sneak away and drink. Let's see if he can manage to do it. He did it in game 1 and immediately won the game off the back of a drink. If he has Way of the Crane and dampening, it's almost impossible for Change My Mind to heal through the pressure, but they need to get to that point. Smexen's low.
Yeah, actually the Death Knight is starting to turn into a bit of a liability here because the Shadow Priest does damage so gradually. The Death Strikes aren't actually that effective against him because it basically, the way it works is Death Strike heals you based on the damage you took in the last 6 seconds, and both the Assassination Rogue and the Shadow Priest do high consistent damage, but not really anything particularly bursty. So Smexen struggling to keep himself at high health, meaning Greki's having to spend a lot of mana, and more importantly, meaning he's having to consistently heal rather than go for those drinks. So as long as he struggles to stabilize, I could see Change My Mind maybe winning this one on mana. Dampening started to stack. Acro, of course, he shouldn't be as scared against the Death Knight. He gets a beautiful sap here coming in from Acro. Doesn't have the trinket or the evasion, but I think it's unlikely they'll swap to him.
Look at Mpoike. He's ready. He's in prime position to secure crowd control for his team. If they can get the Glaire's Medallion without blind, they can find victory through that. But not enough. Maybe enough of the silence. A few more seconds. Smexen's trying to hold out. Greki rolls in. It's Way of the Crane time. Acro, you don't have evasion. There's no Iron Bark, and Mpoike's in crowd control. This could easily be it. Acro so low on health. Manages to retreat away. Mpoike now out of crowd control, but he's got to heal 2 members through a ton of damage. Dispersion exchange. Valet stabilizes. Change My Mind. Keep it cool.
Yep, you can see the Void Shift, that life swap available for Valet in about 45 seconds. Huge defensive cooldown if they can survive to it. This was the Abomination. You see that lovely fella there on your screens, massive with all the hooks, so laying right now. Big damage for the Death Knight, but it should expire momentarily. And once it does, I think we can see Valet and Acro start to get stabilized. Mpoike had to burn through a fair bit of mana, but he's actually taken a lead over Greki. And maybe, just maybe, you know, the Vendetta is up in about a minute. If they can burn down his mana pool and go for one big kill with that over on Smexen, I could easily see them securing this game.
Yep, but Change My Mind, they're on the clock. No mana really left on either side. His dampening mounts up to close to 10%. Acro, he's constantly positioning in a way to try and avoid a double leg sweep while still keeping up his rupture. His awareness has been great to the swap potential, and he knows that he's a vulnerable target for another 20 seconds, but he stacks up. They could swap. They see the opportunity. They go after Acro. He gets life gripped, but not actually too far away. And with only Feint, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. He Shadow Melts the Glaire's Maledict, avoids some incoming pressure. Kidney shots Smexen to stall for a few seconds to allow Mpoike to stabilize. Luckily for Mpoike, his Innervate available. All of his healing is free. He manages to not even recover with that much free healing. Acro's still so low on health. The boys have huge pressure.
Yeah, Acro is starting to rot down a little bit. That's one of the disadvantages. The Rogue doesn't have as much self-healing as he would, say, on a Windwalker Monk. But at the same time, Acro, he knows that. He's playing it smart. He's trying to, you know, weave in and out a little bit, gets to see onto Greki, posture pressure whilst not taking too much himself. The Vendetta now available. We see Vilai with that Void Eruption active right now. The Insanity, big damage coming out. Greki almost out of mana. They force the Life Cocoon with the Vendetta. Can they burst through it? They're looking for it, but Acro just being kind of kited and slowed by the Chains of Ice. You can even see the Fist of Fury coming in from Chun-Li. Smart plays from the boys, making sure Acro can't play the game to the extent he needs to.
2 targets, low on health, and Mpoike has absolutely no mana left. Dispersion keeps Valet alive, but for how much longer? Mpoike is locked down in crowd control with his already completely devastated mana bar. He's managed to sneak away. Can they stop him? How much mana is he going to get? He could completely carry the game back. The Ring of Peace misses. He misses. If Valet doesn't die, I think Mpoike, not really a lot, but it's better than nothing.
I mean, that Ring of Peace missing is definitely a life changer for Change My Mind. They needed it. Now we see the Void Shift coming out to kind of recover from the fact that they had to use that drink. Mpoike has his trinket up momentarily here. Vilai with no defensives, he's using the Vampiric Embrace, doing what little healing he can. We see the Smoke Bomb. They're doing whatever they can in this situation to try get some kind of semblance of counter pressure, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Iron Bark available from Mpoike. It's being a little bit greedy with it. Maybe just trying to save it for the Way of the Crane from Gorecki. I'm not entirely sure. Uses it now. They have nothing left. One more Onslaught, Sid, could easily be the game for the boys.
Yep, and they've got enough mana for Way of the Crane. Gorecki could easily close this game out with both Acro and Valet vulnerable. No Iron Bark for another 45 seconds. Really only the remaining amount of mana that Minpoike managed to scrounge back together, but it looks like he's trying to drink again, but you cannot drink, I don't believe, in this position. Valet's in so much trouble, trying to hold out, trying to stall. Ring of Peace denies the drink, but he did manage to get some mana, some semblance of opportunity, despite being down their fourth member, quite possibly their most important member, their mage. Changed my mind. Can they manage to hold it together a bit longer? No. They are going to get overwhelmed in game number 2, and the boys advance to match point.
It's tough not to cheer for Change My Mind here, because you look at how they are playing, and they're playing out of their minds. They look fantastic here, and we're seeing some of the stuff that we really have been looking for from Change My Mind throughout the entire year. We know that this is a team that can really break into those top teams, that can be competing on the biggest stages, but it would be very preferential to have your entire team to do that, but the boys starting to put the clinic on them.
Yeah, and like you kind of alluded to, it's really important for them to have their mage here, because if they had their mage, all of a sudden the composition that they face is with a Resto Druid instead of that Mistweaver, and the Mistweaver really is the X factor in this matchup. And I gotta say, Gorecki has been impressing me big time in this tournament. I was very critical. I mean, I'm not gonna shy away from it. I didn't like his Mistweaver at all. Last time we saw it, I wasn't impressed. But this time around, he has been doing a great job keeping his mana, keeping his composure, stopping drinks like you see right there on your screen, and really applying that pressure, keeping his team aggressive, and even setting up crowd controls just like this one at the end with that paralyze to allow his team to really win these games. So Gorecki, he's answered a very important question for me, and that is his Mistweaver is looking good.
And that's very important, as he sensed the camera on him and just decided to give us all a big kiss right there. But when we do talk about Gorecki, you start thinking about the rest of the day, right? And looking at things like that are going to be very important.
Yeah, I'm often in Gorecki's stream. He streams basically every day, and I constantly ask him, what do you feel is your weakest point? Like, do you regret any sort of preparations? And he always talks about he needs to get his Mistweaver up to par, get it ready for the tournament. And when we interviewed him backstage before, he said, yes, my Mistweaver's good to go. I confirmed it with the rest of his teammates, so it wasn't just confident
saying it. Yeah,
he was ready to go. So if he's got his Mistweaver at that level, his Resto Druid at his already such a high level, he could go toe-to-toe with someone like Looney. And that is a head-to-head that I would like to see later on in the tournament.
You watch his stream all the time. Does he get your Twitch Prime?
Does he get my Twitch Prime? I think you have my Twitch Prime.
That's a very personal question.
All right, we're going to be jumping to a quick break. We'll see you right after this. Everybody in the chat's really loving this tournament. Everybody's smiling. You guys are quite cute. But you know what isn't exactly cute? Not having all of your teammates at the tournament. We only get to see 3 of their beautiful faces instead of 4. But Change My Mind is playing fantastically. The question is, can they turn it around? They only have 1 game to try to start this reverse sweep. If not, the boys are going to send them to the lower bracket.
It's been 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and potentially 3-0 once again. But that will tie up North America and Europe 6-6 for the day so far, should that occur. You can see how evenly matched the regions are coming to the tournament today, and I'm more than excited to see how Cloud9 perform throughout the tournament. They've been highly regarded and highly respected as one of the best teams and some of the best individual players from basically every team in the tournament. But here we go, the gates have opened, Adrian.
You know what the best thing will be, Sid, if the boys win the series?
What will it be?
It means that we'll have had 4 series of EU vs NA, and we will round out the day with another 4 series of EU vs NA. I love the spring finals, dude. Every single time, you know, we have the top teams in the EU vying against each other, the top teams in NA. This is where we bring them together and really prove once and for all, or at least for a few months which are the best? You know, will it be the European teams? Will it be the North American teams? So far, it's been the number 1 and 2 seeds from both regions doing fantastically. Chun-Li caught up a little bit. This is the early blind touch of Karma used. Is it going to be enough though? Diffuse as well, Fortify. Every single cooldown gripped by the Vortex out of the zone there as well. Huge play from Minpoike and an excellent start for Change My Mind.
All right, Chun-Li Transcendence is back out of line of sight, catches a life cocoon, stabilizes, and then jumps right back into the fight as Valet gets bursted. It's match point for Change My Mind. They cannot afford any mistakes, but they've still got good pressure. Chun-Li is totally exposed here on game 3. Valet just needs to hold out a tad bit longer, getting interrupted on Vampiric Touch, spamming out those purges with the Twist of Magic, able to heal up his team as well. Good utility choice on Valet's part, really highly customized very well against this composition to try and stall out the game and dispel all of those renewing mists, which effectively counter the Shadow Priest class when talented into counteract magic. So Valet's playstyle, his customization is perfect, but still may not be enough to overcome the huge amount of pressure that the boys bring here in this series, the last series of the upper bracket. You don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a game where the boys can secure it. You know, we talked about it already, this kind of even split between EU and NA, but Vilay and Acro are doing absolutely anything within their power to deny that, or at least cause a battle for it. They're not going to go down without a fight. Fried Kitty or no Fried Kitty, this team have shown a lot of resilience here, and they're looking like they have the opportunities. Touch of Death coming out from Chun-Li. He's trying to get some damage over onto Acrolaws. The evasion runs out. Vilay, I think he has cooldowns to trade if it was onto him here. The dispersion still available, of course. Iron Bark from Minpoike preemptively on all of this crowd control. Both these healers have been excelling, honestly, this series.
Yeah, great predictions on both parts of Minpoike and Gurecki. Chun-Li's down at half, caught in the stun. Life Cocoon. Gurecki anticipating some crowd control and just wants to avoid some pressure during this moment in time, but now Vendetta will be open. Although Anti-Magic Zone is likely to be the trade that Smexen makes with that cooldown. We do see that trade quite frequently, and those cooldowns lined up currently, so he's going to be the one that needs to save Chun-Li. Will he be able to? Valet under pressure, no Iron Bark, but a huge Swift Mend catches him and stabilizes. Once again, big map selected by Change My Mind to try and allow drinks. We see crowd control on 2 members. Perfectly timed to deny that Anti-Magic Zone. Just a few extra seconds and potentially pull even more defense from Chun-Li. He's able to Transcendence out of line of sight. Minpoike moving over on top of him as well, but Acro not able to get there. And once again, Chun-Li is just a Windwalker monk that never dies.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you start to bring in that question, right? Like, who are the best Windwalker monks in the world right now? Chun-Li is playing this series fantastically.
As I say that.
The kidney, though, does have the Trinket Karma. He will trade it out. Could be in a bit of trouble through that. Gurecki does have Life Cocoon. They won't want to overlap too many cooldowns. Vendetta wasn't even exchanged here. It's just big damage, but Chun-Li has been kiting fantastically. Forces the Greater Fade on Vilay. Dispersion still available. He should be fine. Mana pretty even once again here as the Way of the Crane comes out for Gurecki.
2 members low on health, and Poike playing it patiently. Doesn't want to overcommit that Iron Bark to a target and have them switch to the other, so he's holding on to it for quite some time, but that's costing him mana to try to kind of brute force heal through the pressure, and now he is at a disadvantage to Gurecki. If the boys can deny his drink, the boys will continue to mount a lead there, and it's match point for them. That's not looking too good for Change My Mind. Crowd control engaged. Gurecki saw it coming. Pre-Life Cocoons at incoming setup, and once again denies an opportunity for Change My Mind. That may have been the kill window. There was no cooldowns there unless Gurecki preempted that. Although now pressure into 2 places. Smexen gets bursted down. Then they switch over to Chun-Li. Smexen gets cloned at low health. Gurecki's going to have to try and deal with this without getting crowd control. If Minpoike decides to cross against midfield, cycloning up Chun-Li, stalling it out. Minpoike is moving over. He's going to jump over. Not able to find any crowd control. Stunned up by Smexen. Clotheslined immediately, and Gurecki repositions to avoid any crowd control. Good teamwork from Smexen to protect Gurecki.
Yeah, that was good defense there from the boys, I think. Something they've been doing a great job of. But I do want to talk a little bit about the strategy change that Change My Mind seems to have adopted here. They're putting more spread pressure onto Chun-Li and Smexen. Most of the kidney shots are on Chun-Li since he has less crowd control breakers than the Death Knight. But most of the kind of in-betweeny damage is being put onto Smexen. I actually really like this. I think it taxes Gurecki a little bit more. Gives the boys more to think about, honestly. And it's one composition coming out of Change My Mind. It's pretty one-dimensional. And the more they can kind of change it up mid-game, it might help them out. We see another preemptive Life Cocoon coming out from Gurecki. Vendetta is available here. This could be an opening, Sid.
Let's see what they can get done. They're going to pop that. Where's the Anti-Magic Zone? That's likely been the defense that Smexen trades. He's holding out onto it. Touch of Karma instead. No overlap in the defensive lineup of the boys, but Sap out of Mind Bomb with no Glaire's Medallion. That's a Touch of Karma immediately by Chun-Li. And an Anti-Magic Zone, but Valet equally low on health. A couple more seconds to a Trinket on Gurecki's part, but if he trinkets anything but a blind, he's vulnerable to that moving forward. There's no follow-up. Valet manages to shackle the Abomination, stall out the push, and somehow stay alive. Minpoike has managed to scrounge some mana back and get a significant lead over Gorecki, but now Valet gets bursted. Dispersion trades for him. Minpoike once again keeping his team in the fight, finding a drink and regenerating mana. Critical moves here for Change My Mind if they want to stay up in this upper bracket.
Yeah, they're actually going for the kill here. Looks like Chun-Li on the retreat. He has no defensive cooldowns remaining. Acrylor's looking for a little re-stealth here. Potentially could be something going. Gorecki crosses the map, but I mean, he's so far away from his healer. Chun-Li, he's going to get caught here. Acrylor's throwing daggers, throwing anything. Trinket Fist of Fury trying to stay alive, but he's come into Villay's line of sight. Another Maldic, and surely Chun-Li will fall. What is this? How is he still alive? The life cocoon from Gorecki in the nick of time, and the boys somehow, some way, survive on Tolvaron.
Cockroaches survive nuclear apocalypses, and so does Chun-Li. He is just the monk that never dies. You cannot take him down. Will he finally fall here? There's no cooldowns. 10 seconds away. Chun-Li portals, but finally maybe a mistake. Ring of Peace denies the connect. Chun-Li catches a Vivify, gets dispelled from the dots, slowly but surely stabilizes. Minpoike takes the opportunity, though, to drink, regenerate mana, and try and build a lead there, but man, Chun-Li is on fire today.
Dude, Chun-Li spends hours per day playing double Windwalker in 2s. You'll probably have seen it on any top North American player's stream, and this guy just lives. Like, that comp should not work, but it works because this guy, this Chun-Li guy, he's so hard to kill, it's so hard to catch him. You can feel the frustration in my voice. Imagine what Changed My Mind are feeling right now, as once again Chun-Li gets away with his life. He has the Touch of Karma, he has the Diffused Magic, but they do have a massive mana lead since they've been using the map very well. Minpoike's been going for those drinks, he has the Innovate. I'd still say, despite all the big plays coming out of the boys and Chun-Li, Change My Mind still lead this game.
Yeah, they've got a good lead here, but it's on match point. They got to swing it 3 in a row, but let's see if they can do it. Despite not having their mage player, they're keeping it together, but how much longer? The pressure's mounting. Valet's in trouble, so low on health. Dampening isn't going anywhere but up. Minpoike is in crowd control. Dispersion is fading shortly, but Valet is stabilized. Acro's trying to dodge a stun. He knows he's vulnerable with no evasion, no Gliders medallion. He's got to get away from the fight, but he can't. Smexon's holding him too close to the fray. Chun-Li gets stunned up. Gorecki gets crowd controlled. They got a couple seconds to kill Chun-Li. Can they take him down is the question. I don't want to question him, but this should be the situation where we see him killed. He's bashed up. He's silenced. He has Touch of Karma. He's going to connect that, stay in the fight. Gorecki dispels. Chun-Li still low on health. Minpoike gets stunned, Acro gets stunned. He's still the target here with no defense. Cloak needs to be enough. Chun-Li's Touch of Karma is finally faded, and how are you going to do it? Gorecki's interrupted. He can't Life Cocoon for one more second.
Come on.
One more second. What? Chun-Li portals away
again.
at 1%. Life Cocoon. Chun-Li catches a heal. Stays alive. Is he going back in at that low health? I think that might be a mistake. Way the crane gets activated, but he gets stunned on it. Good punish from Acro, and the monk that never dies. Will he finally go down? Touch of Death is available. Can they take Valet out? If they've got a stun, he's not going to be able to Void Shift. He's already low on health. He fades. Now there's no fade for the Touch of Death, and Chun-Li's ready to close this, I think.
Yeah, he may well. He needs to go for it soon, though. That dispersion comes up in 18 seconds. I'd love to see just Chun-Li throw it. There it is. Chun-Li throws out the Touch of Death. Huge incoming damage onto Valet. He has no Trinket. If they stun him up, he won't even be able to use the Void Shift. We see a kidney, though, from Chun-Li. This is the Void Eruption. Insanity unleashed on the boys. Changed My Mind, looking to change the course of this series. Gorecki completely out of mana. Chun-Li on the run, but this is what I said in game one. Keep attacking Chun-Li, and it's so hard for the boys to close out the game. Even though he's surviving and it looks fantastic, he's not dealing any damage. This is a melee about 40 yards away from a Shadow Priest. This is not a match you will win the way it's going right now. Change My Mind have the strategy. They have the tools here, and this kidney shot surely said they're going to get the kill.
Oh my. Chun-Li stays alive, gets like a little health, pressure on 2 targets. Perfect play by Change My Mind, although the mana that Minpoike has managed to regenerate throughout this fight is almost completely burned out once again. The Life Cocoon fades. There's not much defense left really here. Can the boys hold on? Vendetta being denied by this purple anti-magic zone shield. All the damage being absorbed, but now that shield's defense is faded. Smexon's still low on health. Acro is tearing in. 2 targets low, no mana left. How much longer can Gorecki go? Change My Mind are suddenly pulling this fight back. Great play on their part despite being a man down. Smexon holds out. Is he gonna go down? Yes, the Gliders Maledict connects the kill. Change My Mind, stay alive in the upper bracket.
There's so much to say there. Obviously, you see Gorecki playing out of his mind. Chun-Li is able to just live and so many plays that just look so greedy. But there's this idea of you can't just play to stay alive. Trying to create some semblance of offensive pressure, but also on the side of Change My Mind. Not only do they turn it around, finally able to crack through Smexen when those death strikes are going to be doing a little bit less, but on top of that, how on earth do you not just tilt off the face of the planet when you got a monk who just won't die?
This is why I said after game 1, Chun-Li's the best monk. He proves it once again. He keeps getting away when he should have died, I think 3-4 times that game. He doesn't go down. He keeps reading situation properly. He always gets away, and it's just the small things, how he dispels his poisons as he gets around the corner to give himself a little bit of extra self-healing, how he kites Acro, how he keeps slowing him, his usage of the Fist of Fury to parry some of these attacks. Chun-Li is just playing out of his mind, but I think some of this has got to be attributed to the composition as well. Should Smexen have been on the Fury Warrior, we talked about the Fury Warrior wasn't really that good of a target. The Death Knight, however, he's going to be a target you can swap to when dampening is at maybe 20-30%. You can all of a sudden apply a kidney shot there, and then when Chun-Li is running, you can still get a kill like we saw here. Very, very nicely done, but I think maybe we should see the boys swap back to the Fury Warrior.
I do want to say really quickly, just to kind of unpack that fully, healing stat, how do you feel about that? Is Chun-Li kind of your focus for Change My Mind to try to mitigate everything that he can do? As I mean, Chun-Li has the tools to kind of be the goalkeeper, as Zico says, in a lot of ways. Is it basically focus Chun-Li, try to mitigate what he can do, and then once we get into maybe 30% dampening, then it's all Smexen?
Yeah, I really think that's how it is. Like, Change My Mind got better and better as the series got out, but also as the game progressed here. They were attacking Chun-Li, I think, a little bit too much. They always need to force him to, be under pressure, force him to think defensively, but then they need to be able to put it damage onto Smexen as well. And then once that critical point in dampening does hit, like Zico said, he is a bit of a liability on the Death Knight. That said, I think swapping over to the Fury, I'm not 100% convinced. It may well work. I mean, it's hard for us to tell, but I feel like the big mistake that was made by Change My Mind in Game 1 is that they started attacking Smexen for no reason. They should have just kept going Chun-Li and forced him defensive.
I agree, but at the same time, the Fury Warrior is making that difficult, applying the hamstrings and kind of just annoying them. What I would like to see, though, I agree with you, they should still try to essentially tunnel Chun-Li, just keep chasing him, but I want to see Valet go for more mind controls onto the Fury Warrior in that case. However, we're not going to be seeing that matchup at all, so we can speculate all we want about that. We're going to see the same matchup, but the big thing here, of course, the main point to make is that we are going to hook point, small map, not going to be easy for Mimpoike to sneak away and get those drinks, which was so crucial for Change My Mind in the previous game.
This one could still be hook, line, and sinker. The boys could end it here, but already we know this series is going to be the first one of the day that's not a 3-0. The question is, can Change My Mind find a reverse sweep?
Change My Mind playing outstanding, showing that they are certainly not chickens. Buck here on the hook point. Can they bring it back 2 more games in a row? If they manage to do so, that is going to mean 3 European teams advancing the upper bracket, only 1 North American team. Early crowd control engaged onto Gorecki, and Chun-Li, once again, his defense will be put to the test.
You know what? It's difficult because the boys knew what Change My Mind were going to play from the start. So we know this is the best options the boys have, in their opinion at least. And even on the small map, I mean, the small map definitely helps the cleave. They're going to find an easier time stopping Mimpoike going for those drinks. I truly believe that Change My Mind could reverse sweep this. There's no reason. I don't think the matchup is as favored as it looks on paper. We'll have to see though, because the small map will definitely help the boys. We see the touch of death committed from Chun-Li once again over onto Vilay, but not too much doing. Of course, the dispersion is available should it be needed. Big pressure coming out onto Chun-Li as Gorecki once again sitting that blind sap in the opener. Could potentially be a greedy play. Touch of Karma, still available for Chun-Li, but he's sitting low, and this isn't the kind of situation you want to be in as the boys.
It's actually a mind bomb sap, so if Gorecki trinkets that and gets blinded later on, it's a very scary moment that we've seen time and time again from Change My Mind. Way the Crane activated. Cyclone denied by Mimpoike. Chun-Li on the run. Acro in hot pursuit. Valet on the Shadow Priest. Not going to be moving fast enough to really chase down a Windwalker, but Chun-Li just rolls back into the fight. Valet jumps into Void Form, trying to dish out some pain here. Gorecki still just attacking. He could be vulnerable to crowd control pushed this far up. Mimpoike is really going at it, always utilizing every single global cooldown, tossing in some couple solar wraths when there's not enough damage going out, looking for Cyclones, trying to slow it down, really playing to the best of his ability here in game number 4 against the boys, battling against all odds without their mage player, Fried Kitty, managing to at least put a point on the board and showing that they've still got it.
Yeah, I really like the Mind Bomb pick from Change My Mind firstly, because it's so hard for Villi to move his character. It's just an excellent way of landing what is essentially a substitute for Fear. That said, I'm really surprised Gurecki isn't running the reverse magic. Because you can basically, like, the way that Change My Mind sets up the CC is Villi silences into the Mind Bomb. He could just reverse all of that crowd control on about a 1.5 minute cooldown, I believe it is. So maybe that's something potentially Gurecki could adapt to. We see full Mind Bomb once again here. Chun-Li, the trade with that purple bubble, the anti-magic zone on the Vendetta. Good plays from the boys. Smexin once again on point with that cooldown. But this has been another case of, like, you know, Minpoike's burning through his mana faster than Gurecki. If they can stop the drinks, the boys will win this because of the small map. If they can't, Change My Mind are going to take it to another dangerous late game for Chun-Li.
I mean, it's do or die here. Change My Mind are still on match point in the upper bracket as the boys look to close it out. Blind, where's the Gliders Medallion? He's not going to do it because Chun-Li got Cyclone. Maybe a bit of a miscommunication on the side of Change My Mind. Now Valet low on health. Ironbark stabilizes over there. Sap, Chun-Li on the run. Acro connects. Cheap shot, low on health. No touch of Karma. Danger time, 10 seconds away from a life cocoon. Maybe we see a Way of the Crane. Way of the Crane immediately. Gurecki charges in, but he walks into a stun. He has to Gliders Medallion out of that. And now later on, Mind Bomb Sap, Blind Sap. This push, this aggressive play by Gurecki to try and close the fight out. If they don't get a kill, is now a liability moving forward.
I would say that was a frustrated for Trinket. I don't think he needed to use it. They still had the touch of Karma if it was really needed, and they're not going to get a kill on Villi here. He has the Greater Fade, he has the Dispersion. They're trying to play more aggressively because they have that mana pressure on Minpoike is the only thing I can think of. Gurecki has the big mana lead and they're trying to convert it into a win, and they need to generate pressure. They need to go for those big aggressive plays if they are to do that. We see Dispersion traded for the Touch of Death. Nice trade from Villi. That, of course, 1.5 minute cooldown. Square there, so perfectly reasonable on the side of Change My Mind, and Villi still under a little bit of pressure. The Void Shift coming in. Maybe the boys going for this kind of more aggressive strategy is going to pay off for them here, because I mean, Minpoike did get a drink, but they lost a lot of cooldowns for it.
This is the first time I've seen First Aid actually have value.
Yeah,
Acro,
first aid, MVP.
Clutch play there. Acro gets stunned. 3 members get stunned. Big error here by Change My Mind. Potentially series on the line. Acro gets life creeped away, but even still so low on health. And Minpoike managed to get mana. That is of utmost importance in this matchup if he wants to stay ahead of Gurecki as we get closer and closer to dampening. Let's look at the opportunities. Vendetta available, but Gliders Medallion, Touch of Karma, and Anti-Magic Zone on the side of the boys. Their defense is looking unbreakable. Pre-fortifying elixir by Chun-Li. This is just a monk that refuses to die. Cycle no at low health, and Minpoike tries to switch it over to Gurecki, gets denied by paralysis. Gurecki needs to reposition, but he's walking into midfield. Walks with a Silence Mind Bomb into Chun-Li. Chun-Li still low on health. Touch of Karma keeps him going during this crowd control, but Sap, no Gliders Medallion. Touch of Karma's gonna be fading here shortly. How much longer can Chun-Li stay alive? This crowd control chain is just looking solid. Another Sap by Acro. Minpoike may be looking for a Cyclone, gets stunned. He can't do it. He gets cheap shot. Acro hard carrying the crowd control. Minpoike in position. Another stop. I was 1 second too late. Life Cocoon. Death Grip stops the Cyclone. They need another stop. They get interrupted. Ring of Peace bounces Minpoike away. If that bash was even 1 second faster, that may have been Chun-Li's life, and we could have been going to a game 5. How much longer can Minpoike keep this going? His mana just burning down so quickly. Now crowd controlled. Acro in trouble. Ironbark activated preemptively by Minpoike. Acro holds on by a thread, but Smexin is just tearing him to pieces. The boys advance 3-1.
Oh man, it ends up being pretty dominant, but you have to say, when you look at Change My Mind, just a fantastic show, putting on one of the best series that we've really seen today. I'm feeling kind of good about what they should be able to do. Obviously, they're going to be with their backs against the wall. They're going to be facing elimination a little bit later on. The boys, they're going to truck on forward.
Yep, the boys, business as usual for them. They are going to be moving, advancing, and we got to give it up to Change My Mind. These guys, absolutely, like we already mentioned, not having their full roster here today, but still going out swinging. They did such a great job. Honestly, if they won that blind pick on Nagrand, even though they can't really counter pick, they still have that momentum and that extra confidence. They're already fighting an uphill battle, and when you get a win like that, that can really kind of turn the tides in the entire series. So despite losing that game, even though it was so close, they still brought it back. They kept their composure, and they fought it out really well. So got nothing but respect for these guys. They played out of their minds.
Yeah, and I think one of the big questions that you do have with them, because obviously they're not out of this yet. They still do. This is going to be a double elimination tournament, so they're dropping down to that lower side of the bracket, that loser side of the bracket. Do you think Change My Mind can hold on for another round?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. Changed my mind. I mean, they're one of these teams that, like, we talked about Never Lucky being in a kind of similar situation, and I think they actually play against Never Lucky in the lower bracket. I think that's their next matchup. I have to double check, but these are two teams which their expectations are completely off, right? Like, Never Lucky comes in as the number 4 team in North America. They've got 2 players new to the LAN environment. Changed my mind. They did come in with expectations prior to losing Fried Kitty, but as soon as Fried Kitty's off the table, you know, it's like 3 players, it's no one's expecting too much from them, so for them to come out with a performance like that, similar to what Never Lucky did, honestly, is quite astounding, and it's going to be a great series when they match off later today.
Yeah, now, obviously, we haven't talked about the boys nearly as much as we should. This is a team that is a powerhouse in North America, and they're going to perform very well, we expect, on the international level. One of the things is they have Smexen, and it seems like it's the perfect fit for him on this squad.
Hey guys, I am here with Smexen of the boys. Congratulations on that first win. So Chun-Li is a bit of a live lord, as we saw. He had his back up against the wall several times. How are you guys able to come out on a win?
I think it's from all the twos that Chun-Li plays, the double DPS twos. She's just his master. That's what he does.
And you guys are all pretty respected players. You came together to form the boys. How were you able to get such good team chemistry this season?
I think Chun-Li and Thug have been playing for years now, so they just have an innate connection between each other, but also all of us have been on teams before, and we all just enjoy each other's company, so it just comes naturally.
And finally, before this matchup, you told me that you wanted a good fight from Change My Mind despite their incomplete roster. Do you feel like they still delivered on that?
Yeah, they played incredible. We don't get to play against that comp very often, but they pulled out some stuff that we haven't seen, so I have utmost respect for those guys.
Awesome. Thank you for talking to me. And that's all I've got. Back to the desk.
Man, it's really easy to like the boys. And now the question is, what do we think that they're going to be able to do for the rest of the tournament?
I mean, coming into this tournament, they are one of the teams that really have a shot at taking the entire thing. And my expectations have only gotten better from them because, like we already mentioned, Gorecki on the Mistweaver was my big question mark, and he played it phenomenally throughout this entire series. So boys definitely looking like one of the contenders to take the entire thing.